Hi, Analisa Six here with the Sober Curator and the Lady of Leisure to bring you the May 2024 horoscope for the zodiac sign of Scorpio for Sun and Rising placements. Hi, Scorpio. Welcome to May. We are in Taurus season right now, which is the polar opposite of your sign. So it's your half birthday this month, basically. So you are fixed water and Taurus is fixed earth. So the sun is in Taurus making an opposition to all of your scorpionic energy, which unless you have Taurus in your chart, if you're a Scorpio that doesn't really have any Taurus in your chart, sometimes these oppositions can feel like a lot, because you're being pulled into an energy that's not as comfortable for you. And that opposition can create some tension. However, I do know a lot of Taurus dominant Scorpios who either have their moon or rising in Taurus. And so if you're a Scorpio that has that polarity already in your birth chart, this energy could actually feel really good and harmonious for you because the sun is bringing life and vitality to it. So we enter May always in Taurus season. But we also have Venus in Taurus as well. And Venus is the ruler of Taurus. And so she does very well in this sign, but she's also opposing that scorpionic energy. And so hopefully there's ways that you can feel like you're doing more integration of your kind of polarity of self. Scorpio energy being the fixed water sign is more intuitive, it's connected to the emotional realm, it's more introverted, more private, more mysterious. It's got this connection to sexuality, transmutation, transformation. Scorpio energy is really good at letting things go in terms of starting anew. Not always good at letting things go when it comes to emotional pain, anguish, or hurt. Scorpio can be very vengeful and hold on to resentments and grudges really easily. But when it comes to starting anew and burning it all down and moving on, Scorpio has that one locked down. Taurus is the opposite. So Taurus is all about stabilizing. Scorpio rules death, Taurus rules life. Taurus wants to stay put. It doesn't want big drastic change. It doesn't want to completely burn everything down. If anything, it wants to build more and build on top of a strong foundation. And so, during Taurus season, we think about strong foundations and kind of what we're building. The area that this is hitting for the Scorpio horoscope, where the Sun and Venus are, is the area that rules relationships, the seventh house. And so this is a really positive time for you to connect to your partnerships, whether that's with your romantic partner or anybody you're dating. It also could have to do with best friends, business partners, anybody that you're in a partnership dynamic with. You are being given a lot of blessings and positive energy to connect through joy, pleasure, food, physical things that, make you feel beautiful in your relationship dynamics, that kind of thing. The other thing that we have going on at the beginning of May is Mercury finishing its station in Aries. So Mercury has been in Aries since March. We had the Mercury retrograde in April, and now Mercury is going to finally be moving through the last few degrees of Aries and then entering Taurus and joining the Taurus party in the middle of the month. So where that's, been hitting for Scorpio is the area that has to do with daily organization and routine. So if your day-to-day plans and kind of how you organize your life has been coming up for review a lot. That was the Mercury retrograde. There was a lot of, the eclipse energy hitting this area of the chart where, that maybe there's some changes that need to be made around how you're of service to yourself and others, and then how you organize the structure of your life, the structure of your day. And then this also influences your health. People that have Aries in this part of the chart tend to be prone to migraines and headaches. And so if you were having a lot of that, you might be in a place of trying to figure out how do you heal or mitigate those problems with diet, health changes, and your routine around how you take care of yourself. Let's see what else here. We have Mars entering Aries. So Mars entered Aries and is also influencing this area of the chart for you. So this is a really powerful time to take action around your mundane reality. So getting organized, approaching things in a more direct, confrontational way, like I'm going to make a plan and I'm going to execute that plan, is supported for you in the month of May with Mars moving through Aries. Mars in the sixth house does say we need to be really mindful with our health. So making healthy decisions is really supported. And again, you're more prone to migraines with transits here, and so, or headaches. So being really mindful of your brain health, your head health, All of that kind of stuff is a big theme for the Scorpio horoscope for May. Mars is going to be here for the whole month. Jupiter we have in Taurus and has been, blessing your relationship house for the last year. And Jupiter is going to be leaving Taurus at the end of the month. We'll talk about that in a second. Saturn is still in Pisces. Uranus is still in Taurus. Neptune is still in Pisces. And Pluto is in Aquarius and stationing retrograde at 2 degrees of Aquarius on the 2nd of May. Pluto is going to be retrograde until October. Pluto is going to be in Aquarius for the next 20 years. So, we don't need to talk a lot about this transit in a horoscope, but we do want to note that it is retrograde, and it's retrograde in the area of your home and family. So, retrogrades bring up reflecting review processes. Pluto brings up deep karmic transformative healing. In the 4th house, that is ancestral, it's family related. And then the way that that's kind of being actualized within our home life is coming up for review during this retrograde period. At the beginning of the month on May 7th, which happens to be tomorrow, we have a new moon at 18 degrees of Taurus. And so this is a great time to be setting intentions around your partnerships, your relationship dynamics, and what you want to manifest more into your relationship. On May 15th, we're going to have Mercury entering that Taurus party. And so Mercury, entering the 7th house, great time for having healthy communication that is very stabilizing and practical and pragmatic. Taurus energy with Mercury has more of a logical and this is reality focused kind of approach to things versus just feeling focused. The water signs are feeling focused. The earth signs are reality focused. And both of those things are important in a relationship, all of it, right? It's like, it's important for us to validate our feelings and to acknowledge our feelings, but feelings are not always facts. Feelings are not always what should be driving the ship. Like we could say, this makes me angry and upset and I need to work through this. We can also say this situation caused this reaction or this feeling in me. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's okay or that it justifies a behavior, right? So knowing when to take ownership over our feelings and have practical conversations about them is a healthy way to work through Mercury and Taurus in a relationship area. This is also an area where Mercury and Taurus, we might be learning how to communicate what we need and want out of physical pleasure in a partnership, love languages, that kind of thing. If you're single and you're dating, same thing. Like this kind of amplifies that energy and also can give you the communication tools to want to talk through some of the practical sides of a relationship. It's really easy when you're a water dominant person to get caught up in the fantasy or romanticism of somebody's potential. So like maybe you see a picture of somebody and you're physically attracted to them. And so then you project onto them all of the things that you want out of a perfect partner. And you fantasize and go, I love the way that person looks. So therefore I want them, I'm attracted to them. And therefore I'm just going to project all of the ways that I hope that they're my perfect person because I'm attracted to how they look physically. Let's say that your reality of getting to be with that person happens, but let's say the reality of who they are doesn't actually align with what you projected onto them. Then you get into a space where you're mad that this person doesn't fit the fantasy that you had concocted in your mind of what you think they should be like. And then you might be upset with them, or you might be trying to contort them into somebody that they're not. And so what's really important, and this is kind of a Virgo Pisces polarity thing, but it's also, it's the earth water polarity where we can allow ourselves to feel feelings about somebody or about a situation while also acknowledging the reality of the situation. And I'm bringing up relationships because this is happening in your relationship area. So, your ability to say the reality of the situation is that this person does not like X, Y, and Z, but I keep trying to get them to like X, Y, and Z because I like X, Y, and Z, but they are not going to like X, Y, and Z. And so you have to be really mindful of when you're trying to contort somebody's reality into your reality because of the feeling that you have that you've projected. And I think that it's something that I've experienced a lot. I think that social media does that too, where we see people in a way that like, if we think about like pre-social media, we would meet somebody and interact with them and have an experience with them. And we might still do all of those things, but there's more opportunity to get to know somebody before we've built a big story about them. I mean, people build stories about people all the time, regardless, but we're like actually interacting with them and absorbing their energy and feeling their frequency, whether we're aware we're doing that or not. There's an aura and a frequency we're feeling. So we can tell if there's chemistry or not. I think in this day and age of social media and kind of being able to concoct an image on a profile or view a profile, we don't actually really know what being around that person physically is going to be like. And, Catfish is such a great example of that TV show where oftentimes when they would go and meet their person in person, the energy was totally different. You would see things where you'd be like, oh my God, they're finally getting to me after, it would be like one of the good ones, and then they would do the update 3 months later and they're not talking anymore. And it's almost like the fantasy and the addiction to that energy and that fantasy was more of what they wanted versus the reality of actually having the relationship. Because the reality of a relationship with someone is that there's a lot of things that have to get sorted out. It's work, Taurus work, So I think that for this new moon, this Taurus season, this Venus in Taurus, Scorpio is going to be reflecting a lot. And even the last few degrees of Jupiter here, it's going to be reflecting a lot on just your relationship to those themes around the reality of a relationship and what it entails versus the fantasy and the feelings and what you want out of it. Because that's a two-way street. Just because you want something doesn't mean that other person's able to show up for it, right? Okay, so moving on from that, after Mercury enters Taurus, we are going to enter Gemini season, and we're going to get a big shift of energy for you, where the sun on the 20th is going to be entering your 8th house of your horoscope. So the 8th house represents marital relationships, contractual relationships, sex, death, inheritance, the occult, taxes. So, financial themes are here. If we are in a partnership or any kind of relationship dynamic where there's shared resources, those are highlighted. Your assets, if you own property or have assets, if there's an estate that you're working with, all of that is highlighted and there's energy around that. Sex is highlighted. Gemini is a very analytical energy. It puts a lot of thought and thinking into things, sometimes too much. And so you might be thinking a lot about all of those things and it might be overwhelming during Gemini season. But the sun, brings energy and vitality. And so again, like we get this boost in this area and it's also very energizing in a positive way. After the sun enters Gemini, we're going to have a full moon at 2 degrees of Sagittarius. So the sun will be highlighting the 8th house, and then the full moon is going to be highlighting the 2nd house. And the 2nd house is the house that represents our relationship to material finances and stability, our relationship to how we value ourselves within that. So, Sagittarius energy on its own has a big influence around how we perceive values, beliefs in a spiritual way, and also a philosophical and educational way. Like, what is our perception of what we hold to be true? Sagittarius is the truth seeker. And in the 2nd house, we might be reflecting on how we're making money and how we're building stability for ourselves and what are our values around that. For some people, your values around money and what is good money to you is totally different from somebody else's. Like, I know people where they grew up wealthy, and so what their goals are so much higher than myself, where I did not grow up wealthy. I did not grow up with this perception that like I needed to try to make a bunch of money in a way that was, I mean, I wanted to make a bunch of money, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't raised with like some expectation that I was supposed to reach this like huge financial milestone. And there's some people that are raised that way because they have generational wealth or they come through that, right? There's also people that are sometimes raised in a wealthier household, but they don't feel comfortable with that and they want to live a more simplified brass, tax kind of like, I don't know if that's the right phrase. I meant bare bones, not brass tacks. They want to live a more bare bones kind of existence, and maybe money they don't want to have be a central theme. I actually know a lot of Scorpios who are more like that. They like nice things, they like stuff, but they don't really want wealth. They're not trying to, their values and beliefs have more to do with practical things and kind of what's resourceful versus being extravagant, So those are themes that come up during this full moon for you and reflecting on those things. And, maybe there's some perspective shift or values and belief systems are shifting around your finances and how you relate to money. This is also a positive time for you to set intentions around manifesting more money into your life. If you have a job that requires you to travel at all, you might set intentions around work opportunities that are in other places. That's also something that you can set intentions towards. After we have the full moon in Sagittarius, we are going to have Venus entering Gemini and entering that 8th house, which is really positive for sex and connecting to a person sexually. It's really positive for sorting out shared resources and assets. It's great relationship energy. It's also really great for spiritual studies and getting invested in your esoteric practice, if that's something that you are feeling drawn towards. And then after Venus enters Gemini, we have Jupiter entering Gemini, and Jupiter's been in Taurus for the last year, passing through your house of relationship. Now with Jupiter entering Gemini, it's going to be in the house that represents everything else we were talking about, but it's going to be here for a year. So Jupiter and Gemini, Jupiter is considered to be in detriment in Gemini. It's not Jupiter's most comfortable placement, but it's still positive because Jupiter is still a positive planet. Wherever Jupiter is transiting is where we're experiencing a lot of growth and expansion. It's not always comfortable to grow and expand, but we're doing it. And the area that you're doing it in is your relationship. If you're not married and you are with somebody that you want to marry, this might be a year where you really start to plan that or talk about it, combining shared resources. Jupiter also represents death and endings at times, and this is transiting through the house of death. And so just like you could be starting a contractual marriage, you also could be ending one. It just depends on what Jupiter is requiring of you as an individual to grow and expand beyond where you've been around these themes. I think I'm good. I'm going to leave you there. I wish the best for you during May. If you want to book a one-on-one session with me, you can email me at analisasix@ladyofleisure.com. I post these every month, so hit the subscribe button if you want to get notified, and you can find me at thesobercurator.com as well. All right, Scorpio, good luck, and I will see you guys next month.